Welcome back, everybody, to Just Keep Parenting. Just keep swimming, right? That's what we have to do every day. So anyway, just want to check in, seeing how you're all doing. Today we're going to continue our chat about assertiveness versus aggressiveness. Last week we chatted a little bit about how to tell whether you were assertive or not. So today we're going to talk about aggression, right? Hopefully you can kind of check yourself and see whether you're trying to be clear or trying to overpower. Because if we look at assertiveness, we're trying to be clear, right? There's a piece of clarity in there, right? When we're being aggressive, we want to win. We want to overpower somebody. And so back in the book, right, Dr. Becca Bailey, we're on page 81 and 82 today. And I love how she says, aggressive communication aims not to clarify, right, but to win by overpowering. And we see that a lot in our communities, in our nation, even in our families, right? But when we're aggressive, we usually use pronouns that start with you, right? So you always interrupt me. You always make me feel bad. And the you statements that we use, they focus on the person, right? Not on the problem. If we were trying to solve the problem, we would probably be more assertive than we would be aggressive. So you hurt me, right? Versus I feel hurt, right? So I feel hurt would be more assertive. You hurt me is more aggressive, right? So attacked, right, versus not attacked. So when we use the you statements, we attack people rather than trying to solve the problem. Because we use you statements, right, the recipient usually feels the need to defend themselves, right, to respond defensively, right. As we do that with adults, we call it arguments, right? I'm arguing, right, with somebody. And sometimes those arguments can be pretty heated, right, as we try to overpower each other. With children, we just refer to it as talking back, right? And so as we look at aggressiveness, I think one of the things that we have to check in ourselves is whether we're trying to speak for others, right? Because aggressive people usually speak for others, and they act as mind readers, right? They describe viewpoints of others, and it may sound like, you think I'm the maid, right? We're putting ourselves in their mind. You think this is my problem, right? We've got that you statement, and we're reading their mind. Many times they use always and never, right? And if you go back a few weeks ago, you'll find that always and never, right? We just should never use always or never in our communication because nothing really is that way, right? And so you always forget your lunch. You never do your homework. You never make your bed, right? And so as we use those statements, the recipient usually feels attacked, right? And so, and I would even, Dr. Becca Bailey refers to them as extreme statements, not just statements, but extreme statements, right? So as we use those with our children, they think they're all bad or all good. And so as we try to eliminate the word always or never from our vocabulary, as we try to communicate with our kids, we'll find that we're less aggressive with them, right? Because as we generalize with them, we teach our children to generalize about themselves and about others. So the outcropping of that is all teachers are mean, right? And I never do things well because we're teaching them how to generalize. On page 82 in the book, last week I read a portion about assertiveness, right? This week I'm going to read a portion about aggression. Anne was having a rough day. She saw her 3 children lounging around the family room and shouted, "What are you doing inside? How many times have I told you to play outside? I don't care if it's 90 degrees in the shade. Get up and get out. You never listen." Clue number 1. Laura, the oldest, tried to speak to her mother. Oh, she's back talking. "Mom, Tara has a video from school we were going to watch." Anne interrupted. "You are just using that video as an excuse to watch television." But Mom, whined Tara, don't you talk back to me, young lady. Now get outside before you make me do something I'll regret. Extreme. You think, oops, you can never do whatever you want, but you're wrong. Mind reading. You need some quiet time after working all day. Or you think you can do whatever, but you're wrong. I need some quiet time after working all day. You children are all so selfish. All of them are so selfish. As the children grudgingly began to leave the room, Anne threatened again. Don't leave with those sulky faces. You ought to be grateful for fresh air. So, as we look at what she demonstrated, right, in her aggressiveness, she made you statements, right? She used that quite often. They focused on the person, not on the problem. She spoke for others, right? So she was a mind reader. And when we do that, we often wrongly read their minds. She used the words always and never. She used empty, extremely punitive threats, right? When she said, don't make me do something that I'll regret, right? And then the last thing that she did was, well, she didn't really do it, but sometimes we do it. Well, she kind of did it when she said, don't make me do something I'll regret, but we impose consequences that are overly severe, right? And, you know, you can't watch TV for 2 weeks for not cleaning your bathroom or whatnot, right? And that brings me to a whole nother topic about natural consequences, right? The consequences should be somehow connected to what just happened. And sometimes that's hard for us to think about when we're in the middle of a little bit of a conflict, right? And especially if we're in the back of our brain, in the brainstem, we have a hard time. And it's okay for you to say, you know what, I'm not sure what the consequence is going to be. I need to think about it, right? Great. Let them know that sometimes you don't have all the answers, right? That's not what an aggressive parent would do, but that would surely be what an assertive parent might do, right? The other thing that hopefully we don't see very often in our aggression, we didn't see it in the Anne situation, is that we physically respond to a child out of anger, right? So we shake their arm, we jerk their arm, we threaten to hit, and sometimes we even do hit. So if we can go for a walk, if we can say, you know what, I need a timeout right now. I need to go to my bedroom and have some alone time while I think about this, and then we'll talk afterwards, right? So see where you are on that aggressive versus assertive scale to see if there are some things that you can just think about in your life, right? Do you use you statements a lot, right? Or do you use I statements? Do you try to mind read, right? Do you try to tell people what they're thinking rather than letting people tell you what they're thinking? And are you trying to solve the problem, or are you trying to solve the person, right? So as you think about that this week in your relationships with children and your relationships with others, I'm going to wish you well. That's what we do every day, is we wish people well. We had a child yesterday that said they had car problems, and so they didn't know what they were going to do. And so you could see them trying to worry about this, you know, kind of like they've heard their adult worry. And I said, so maybe what we could do is just wish your car well. And she's like, yeah, that'd be a great idea, right? So the whole class is just, we wish you well, so-and-so's car. And it took care of the issue, right? So sometimes we just need to wish people well, and they're going to figure it out, right? So I'm going to wish you well this week as you try to think a little bit more about relationships and how you handle those aggressively, or how you're trying to be clear and handle those assertively. So just keep parenting, my friends. Share a video with anybody that you care about that's struggling, and we'll catch you next week.